Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on the archive. First one in a long time. So thank you for tuning in. Tonight, I have Sir Vidalia here with me. How you doing so far tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Format tonight's going to be a little different than some of the other ones that we've done. We're going to do an hour, give or take, of kind of the normal interview style that we've done. But then what we're going to do at the end is we'll go through and ask, you can ask questions. And if they're good questions and I like them, it allows us here, we can pull up your questions on the screen and we'll throw them to Vidalia and answer some of those at the end. So throughout this whole thing, if you have any questions, throw them down in the comments below. And oh, hey, look, what's up, man? That is Silent Night. So cool. We got a
I'm
bunch of
really happy about that.
yeah, we got a bunch of friends in here. So feel free, drop those down in the comments below. And at the end, if you have a good question, I'll bring it up and we'll go from there. So Vidalia, start with kind of softball, easy question for you. How'd you get into LARPing? Is Amtgard your first LARP? And kind of how'd you get started in this whole hobby?
So Amtgard is my first LARP. Technically, my first Amtgard sign-in was at Mystic Glade around 2007 or 2008. The records don't exist because it's Amtgard. But I played soccer in high school, and we would run laps at the track around the park that all of the Amtgarders would play at. And so I'd run watching these people do sword fighting and throw, spells at each other.
Mm.
It was Mystic Glade, so they probably weren't throwing spells, but um, and that was really cool. And then my mutual friend, Cabbage Tidehammer, invited me to go out to Amtgard. I actually still have the tunic that he made me to attend from high school. I still fit in it. So that's what I'm really proud of. And that was my first sign in at Amtgard. And then Cabbage graduated high school, and I didn't see him for a while after that. And so I didn't do any LARPing because I didn't have a car.
That'll do
um,
it.
yeah. And then eventually we reconnected at college. And I started getting back into LARP a few years later, where I've been happy ever since. So that's how I got into Amtgard.
That's cool. About what year did you start coming back regularly?
My first sign in coming back at Radiant Valley was October 2018. So I'm coming
Okay,
up on my 6 year anniversary.
cool. So how was it starting right before the world shut down?
Uh, it was a big transition. Um, it felt like Amtgard got put on hold, but a lot of people were
Mm,
really determined to stay in touch. I was Monarch of Radiant Valley at the time, and we did a lot of online classes.
mm,
I had because Radiant Valley is really lucky, we have knights in every belt path. And so I had each one of them in their respective paths come on Discord. Even Sir Duffer made an appearance on Discord despite his technical
yeah,
challenges.
that's a feat right there.
Yeah. And we would host panels where they could come and like discuss different things with one on one or in a group with our knights. So that was fun.
That's cool. And that really is a blessing having that many nights at your park. You know, something like I remember I saw a graphic that was like where all the nights are located throughout Amtgard, and so many parks didn't even have one,
Hmm.
let alone multiple, and then let alone ones that have all of all the belts represented.
Yeah, I feel like we joke in Radiant Valley that we grew up in like the America of Amtgard because we have so many opportunities at Radiant
Mm,
Valley that just don't happen as frequently at other parks. Like we have an incredible stick culture,
mm,
fighting culture. We have so many of our members active at kingdom level, like in politics. So many of us doing service and have like 20 years of game experience. There's such a wealth of knowledge and community at Radiant Valley that you don't get everywhere. And I feel incredibly blessed to have started here. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's really cool. Your guys' park in particular is kind of unique in the sense that it has so many different generations of Amtgarders present at one place. Like a lot of times you'll get like one vet player and 30 new players, or it's just like a 10 group or a 10 vet group. Just because I remember at this last event, I held like a new person's class. Like, this is your first event. Come here and let's show you where everything is and make sure you're comfortable and all that. And like a third of the people there were from your park. But
yeah, we
then,
had,
go ahead.
sorry,
No, go
we had
for it.
the second, we tied for first place for the most number of newbies at that event. So I'm super proud of our group of newbies too. I think we have ranging 10 to 14-ish currently
Mm,
now, so that's really cool. And not all of them are LARP newbies either. We have some imports from other LARPs as well.
mhm.
So it's been really cool to see that influx happening.
Yeah, it's a cool blend that you guys have going because you have so many, and not just like vets and new players, but like your different tiers of vets. Like you have a lot of 20-year players, a lot of 12-year players, a lot of 6-year players, and a lot of new. Like you have a lot of different perspectives that kind of are all in one group, and that's rare. That doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, I find a lot of times parks have uh, the misfortune of becoming like a cult of personality, whereas
Mm,
Radiant Valley, we're all very opinionated and we'll tell you all about it. Um, so I really enjoy that about our park.
yeah, that's cool. So started Amtgard way back when, kind of really started playing right before the pandemic.
Mhm.
What would you say is your favorite aspect of the game? And I know that that's hard, but like, or how about this? How about this? When you started, what was the thing that drew you the most?
I actually came back to Amtgard because Flo bet me that I couldn't get a serpent belt in 5 years. He owes me a beer still. Um, but once I came out and started playing Amtgard again, my that just became like a running gag between me and Flo. Like I really love the community. I really love the game. I
Mm,
love playing with my friends. Like there's something rare about being a grown up and getting to do make believe with your friends
mm.
that feels so good. And then I really like Amcard politics. So I
Gross.
just
Wait, really?
I do. Maybe not all of the players in Amtgard politics, but I really enjoy just getting in there.
That explains so much. Yeah, continue. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's something wrong with me up here. But yeah, so um I think that as a professional artist, getting Master Dragon was um I won't say an easier path for me because there's
Mm,
definitely culture shock coming to Amtgard compared to like the fine art community. Um, but it felt like something that was going to happen.
mm,
Whereas getting my masterhoods in Rose and Crown are something that I'm really proud of because that skill set is wholly developed for
mm.
Amtgard and by Amtgard. Um, so I feel like I really grew as a person through the game.
It's funny that you say that about the professional artist coming in. I have one of my squires who went to school. Um, I don't know specifically. It's art, and he did art critic stuff for a while, and then, but he has struggled with it, and he's gone the exact opposite to where he doesn't want anything to do with Amgard ANS because it's so. He goes, art isn't supposed to be judged in the way
Mhm.
that Amgard does it, and he and I have had hours of conversations about this. So what first off, I guess, what is
Mhm.
your classically trained, professional art career before Amtgard? And then from there, how did Amtgard's ANS you obviously it helps coming in with that degree, but how did it like mindset wise, how did you jump into it instead of pushing it away?
So I am classically trained in two-dimensional arts, painting and drawing from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And I started doing Amtgard like knighting portraits. I actually
Mm.
didn't know that knights traditionally got like presents and things at knightings. I was just like, I'm gonna draw Flo as a cool little knight. It'll be a fun gift for him. And then I show up and it's like a huge ceremony, and I'm like, oh. Um, and I started doing those things. I competed in the Winter's Edge quals of 2019, I think. And I got best in show, and
Hmm.
that's how I got my first dragon, I think. Um, and then I ended up going down to Ever Living Woods, where I'm going to now roast Obscura on live TV. I'm just kidding. But we had a park tournament there at their Monsterocalypse event. Um, and I submitted a piece, and from my fine art background, it was just a note card that had the materials that I used and the title of the piece and the dimensions.
Oh, for the
Um,
for the for the write up, you mean?
for the write-up, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Um, and so I placed last in the tournament because my write-up was so bad, and it was written in as like part of your score, the
Mm.
presentation. Um, yeah, I think I placed dead last in that tournament. Um, I was a ball of rage. I'm sure I looked like a sourpuss at the event, but I tried not to let it get to me. And one of the comments that I got from the judges is, I would have given you a 5 out of 5,
Mhm.
but your write-up was so terrible. And everyone at Radiant Valley was roasting me for months after this. Like, we would all go out for afters at a Chinese restaurant, and they would be like eating the chow mein or whatever and saying like, "Oh, well, I would have given this a 5, but the write-up was so bad." Um, and so I became full of spite at that moment, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to get good at this thing, right? And so I took a bunch of write-up classes that were available during the pandemic,
Hmm.
and participated in a lot of the online tournaments during the pandemic, which really honed my write-up skills. Um, and now I'm a serpent knight.
Just like that. All you got to do, guys, you heard it here first. Learn to do good write ups, and you get a masterhood.
Yep, that's all it takes.
You would be surprised, though. Like, we're joking, but you would be surprised at how much a good write up can boost your. It doesn't make your item better, but if your judges don't have to search for or ask questions about things, they're just naturally going to like your thing more. And I don't know, people shoot themselves in the foot with their write-ups. So like, you're going to kingdom level and it's written on, it's handwritten on just normal paper and it's crumpled and stained and it has no, like, come on,
Mhm,
just spend 10 minutes on this and you will do
right.
so much better.
And like, if the judges see your write-up and they understand the decision-making process for why you made design choices or color choices, or um, the thing that you overcame, like the difficulty
Mhm.
working with papyrus or something, right? That's going to give you brownie points that may not have been there if you didn't put it in the write-up.
Mhm.
Um, so they're
Because
super
most
important.
most of your judges won't know what papyrus is or be able to tell it from cardstock unless you put it in there too. So when you write that stuff in there, you get more bonus because like, oh, I didn't even know you could get that in America. Like, so you go and you start in ANS,
Mhm.
the classically trained, so that helps a lot. Frustration early on in tournaments and not, I wouldn't say not doing well, but maybe not understanding the format. Uh, go ahead, go ahead.
Right. I thought I did well, but I did not perform well, if that makes sense.
I gotcha. So
Mhm.
then you took that as spite, which is the best motivator. I've
It
been
is.
saying that for years. You then go and magically get a masterhood, right? So what not magically, what was the journey like then from going from park level, you said you went down to ELW,
Mhm.
to like that like 6, 7, 8, 9 for your master dragon, right?
Yes. So I got a lot of them in quick succession. I think I got 5, 6, 7 in one chunk.
Mm,
I was competing a lot online at like I don't know. It was pandemic era, so it's hard to say like inter-kingdom tournaments because everything Amtgard is just
yeah.
like pan Amtgard at this point. Um, so I know there were several entries, and it was the wetlands, I believe, tournament. And I didn't even know that I was getting awards at this point. It just kind of happened at their kingdom awarded me. Um,
Hmm.
and I was surprised. Like people start messaging me and they're like, "Watch this live stream." And at this, I'm still a ball of anxiety, but at the time I was like a really big ball of anxiety, and like I was so nervous watching another kingdom award me. I literally threw up. Um, they used to joke that like whenever I got my first award that I would have to be called up in front of court. They were just gonna have a bucket at the ready. Uh, so there was that, and then I got my. I don't remember how I got my eighth. I think I it was a printout. I didn't get a scroll for an eighth, which I think is the norm in a lot of kingdoms, but not maybe in Winter's Edge. It varies reign to reign. And then I got my ninth, which is right there. Made by ferrous oxide uh, at our first day event coming out of the pandemic. If that tells you the timeline. And then my 10th
Hmm.
is at another day event um, coming out of the pandemic because we could not yet have full events. So.
Mm, I gotcha. So what do you think was the most difficult part? It sounds like that very first tournament, but
Mhm.
was there something else or that second tournament, I guess, down at ELW? What was the most difficult part of that your dragon climb, do you think?
Um, I actually picked up an entirely new medium because after I do remember what I got my eighth for. I got my eighth for Bell's Ninth Warrior Scroll. Um, I started doing scroll work and I learned an entirely new medium, digital art, so that our online uh, our courts could be more easily like perceived. Like I
Mm,
don't have to photograph a scroll. Um, and so I started doing online things or like digital stuff for scrolls. I really find doing scrolls very rewarding, more so than winning competitions. I think that winning competitions feels super great, but seeing someone light up when they get an award, and then also seeing them light up when they look at your artwork,
mm,
warms my soul so much. That's what I find really motivating in Amtgard. Um, and I found that a lot of people were saying that digital art was a crutch, even though it was a medium that I had no experience in up to this point and was completely self-taught. Um, and
which I'm gonna pause you right there. I wasn't in the kingdom for this time.
Mhm,
I wasn't around here. So I'm gonna speak directly to the people who were saying that it was a crutch. That's silly to me. In every other, if someone is only a garber,
mhm,
right? We don't say, oh no, their tunic making is a crutch, right? Like we don't look at these other, oh no, they're event running. They're really good at that one thing at being, warocrat. That's a crutch. Like we don't do that with other things. I hate this, especially in Dragon, because it seems to be so broad and so wide. Like we expect our master dragons to be able to do 12 different things. And that's just a standard that we don't have with any of the other ones, at least most of the time.
I think it was less that like you can only draw and more that your drawings are digital and digital art is easy and therefore bad. And I think that it breaks apart at digital art is easy. Um,
Mm,
so what I do, I use Procreate. I have a stylus and a drawing pad, and you can draw just like on paper. The undo is significantly easier,
yep,
but there's some stabilization. I actually don't often share this, but I have hand trimmers. So moving to digital art was an improvement in my quality of life doing lettering, for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah,
But aside from those things, I would say that digital art is different for sure, but not inherently easier.
that's
So,
cool. So you go from something that you weren't trained in, you added in a new medium. Excuse me. People gave you a hard time. You continue to do it. What was like the final thing do you think that got you from 9 to masterhood? Like, or was there? Was it did you increase in skill or was it just doing it a whole lot? Like what was that final step?
I do think that I improved a lot, particularly in digital art. But I think it was the sheer volume that I was doing.
Mm,
Um, I didn't have a day job at this time. I got really into making scrolls. Like there were moments where I would do 17 or 18 scrolls for a single event. Um,
gross.
yeah, and that was just in Winter's Edge. I was also taking on scrolls from other kingdoms. I did over 150 scrolls in a single year. Um, so I think that we could say whatever about digital art being easier,
Hmm.
about the quality of my work, but the volume, impeccable.
There you go. Which is another thing that I think we unfairly do for garbers that we don't do for some of the other ones. But I know a bunch of garbers who can't produce a one single masterwork quality tunic, but they can produce an eighth tunic, 4 of them a week. And eventually we give those people masterhoods too. And we don't want to do that with other things. I don't know. I think that that's silly.
Yeah, if you're producing quantity is a quality all its own, right? So
That's cool. So was your master rose for making the awards?
no, I don't have. I might be talking out of my ass here. I don't think I have any roses for scroll work.
That's
Um,
silly.
all of my rose stuff is for volunteering and for running things and that sort of stuff. I'm really proud of my rose work, but it feels natural. I want to see
Mm,
my friends have fun and succeed in the game, and if I can be conducive to that, then I'm going to do that. I also really hate feeling impotent. So if I see a problem, I just fix it.
mm.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So roses not for awards, which is just silly for that many. I would love to see our artisans. I would love to see more rose like flame nights for people donating their time and money to make awards. I think that that's huge for our game. But you said running stuff. Give me some examples. I wasn't around when you were getting these, I don't think. So like what was the examples of what you were getting your 789 for?
Sure. So I would help a lot at events. I actually got trench foot once because I didn't sit down and it had rained and my shoes got really wet.
Mm,
Um, and I was just running around helping at the event kind of everywhere. I created what we call the slack crap position. Subway
mhm,
hates this position because effectively it shouldn't be a thing, but its job is to like have a standby team to help the other crats as needed. So it can be, a nice day at the beach, or it can be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. It kind of varies
mhm.
depending on your team. And so I wanted to do that because I wanted a belt flag when I was volunteering at events. So
Because that's the
um,
most important part, right?
it is like I'll do anything for a belt flag. Um,
Madness is the same way.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw he still has the belt flags from the War Master.
Yep. Oh, he
So
loves
that's
those things.
And so my higher level ones are from doing volunteer work at the Pirate Fest and Medieval Fest.
Mm,
There are two festivals that we do each year as an interpark fundraiser for Winter's Edge. We have raised, I think, approaching $5,000 to $7,000
wow.
um, for various parks in the kingdom. Um, so that's cool.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is. That's really cool.
I know Radiant Valley has $5,000 ish in the coffers from it. I can't speak to other parks
Mm,
personally what they gained. I should know this. I sent them the money, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. So that's what I got my high end roses for.
that's cool. So the person who is working their way up the rose ladder and they are stuck, they've hit a wall,
Hmm.
call it at 8 or 9, and they feel like they've done a couple of things that haven't gotten them that next one, getting a little discouraged. What
Hmm.
advice would you have for that person who's grinding, but they're not seeing the success that they want?
Find a need, find a niche, see what the people want to have done, and then do that thing. Um, I know running the War Master, a lot of people complained that we were only having one major kingdom level tournament a reign. So it's like, well, I'll run one. And it wasn't like I asked permission before putting together a bid. I just had this perfect package. And I was like, here's the event site, here's our budget, here's our entire
Mm,
team running it. All you have to do, Monarchy, is rubber stamp this and let me do my thing. And so I feel like there's a lot of people that are waiting for a yes
mm,
before putting together like a bid or a package or getting a group together to do something. And you don't need a yes to put that together. You may need a yes to actually commit to the thing, right? But it's much, much, much easier to get a yes when you have like a, here is my entire document,
mm.
give me a stamp, right? So,
Yeah, I think that that's one thing a lot of players get caught up in is that, oh, the current monarchy team doesn't like me for whatever reason. I can't do the thing that I want to do.
mhm.
80% of the stuff in this game, you don't need permission from the monarch to do. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Like, yeah,
yes.
I mean, yes, you do. You need the permission to go be Gatocrat, right? But like,
Hmm.
you go, you want to run a particular battle game and there's nothing else on the schedule at 9 o'clock on whatever, go do it, right?
Hmm.
You want to run your tournament, go run your tournament, right? You think that there's not enough archery tournament things going on right now, go run one, right? Like, just do it, advertise it, and then don't worry about it. Like, the kingdom, if it's a cool enough idea and there's enough need for it, the kingdom will rubber stamp it. And if it doesn't, cool, go have fun with your 10 friends and keep moving. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And a lot of times, like, you only need the kingdom approval for like kingdom level blah, kingdom
mhm,
sponsored blah. Like I could totally just run a war master and call it the Vidalia master, and
mhm,
people will show up and fight in it, and we'll all have fun. And if the kingdom wants to award high end warriors for that, they probably won't because it wouldn't be kingdom sponsored. But it's still a fighting tournament that's fun to be
mhm.
in. So,
Yep. And most of the events and the things that we love in our game started like that, right? Like,
mm,
Keep was just an idea of some people that came together, and the first one was fun, but it wasn't like a massive, massive event. Well, now you look at Keep and it's the largest event in Amtgard. Well, it was before COVID. How about that? So
mhm.
like, you don't know what it's going to end up like the third, fourth, fifth time you do these things. The first one, don't be worried about it. If it sucks, it sucks. Learn from it and move on.
I would say the bottom line though with roses is like you should be doing it for other people to have fun or for you to have fun and to help your community. And if you're not
Mm,
accomplishing those goals, then why are you doing it? Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
very true.
If you feel like the monarchy is snubbing you for an award, that's terrible, but also, did you have fun? Did your friends have fun? Did you help your community? You've accomplished a thing. Congrats, you know.
Yeah, it makes it a lot the decline of a getting award. It makes it a lot less sour if you
Mhm.
enjoyed what you were doing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your crown path. Because you're a master crown, but what all you've never been monarch before, correct?
Correct.
So what I didn't think that was a thing. Just kidding. But I thought you had to be I thought you had to be monarch to get master crown.
Flo beat me to it. He's actually a Master Crown without being a monarch before me. So, but he got it for KPM. KPM in Winter's Edge is weird. It's also weird in Neverwinter. In most kingdoms, or if you're looking at Crown Point conversion, KPM counts as 1 point. In
Mhm.
Winter's Edge, the scope of the KPM role is much larger and much more vital and falls into a lot more like real world responsibilities other than entering attendance and awards. Um, at the time that I was KPM and at the time that Flo was KPM, um, we had to enter awards, enter attendance, handle all of the finances for the kingdom, handle all of the bank account for the kingdom, run the square store, do the kingdom taxes, file for a nonprofit status, sit on the board of directors. We're also on the band committee. Uh, and that's
Hmm.
just what I can think of off the top of my head. So KPM was a really expansive role. We've since shifted some of the responsibility to be more on the board of directors for the
Mhm.
nonprofit filing and for the kingdom taxes and that sort of thing. Um, but it was a lot to deal with. And then also, when I was KPM, our ledger hadn't been filled out for at least 2 reigns. I'm getting like flashbacks thinking about this. um, so I had to go through and get all of the bank documents and manually fill our
Mm.
ledger correctly in the event that we were audited by the Amtgard International or worse by the IRS or something. Um, I still have those documents in my closet. I scanned every single page in from at least a year of transactions
Mm.
and manually uploaded every single invoice to the board of directors folder. It was a lot.
Yeah. I will say Winter's Edge, the not everything but the monarch does seem to do more or have a larger responsibility than the other kingdoms that I've played in.
Mhm,
Um, it seems like the monarch in most other kingdoms is like the most time intensive one, where here the monarch almost has the easiest of the four roles, in my opinion. Like the regent is the autocrat, right? The regent
mhm,
is the one scheduling the events out. Like that's a lot of responsibility. Your champion's the automatic warocrat. That's a lot of responsibility. Those two things right there, most other kingdoms don't do. And so it's been fun for me to kind of travel a little bit and see the
mhm.
differences here. And so you did KPM twice.
Yes, because I'm insane. I actually took a
Yeah.
break in the middle though,
Okay.
and then I was scribe before becoming KPM for about a year, and then I was scribe in between my KPM terms as well. Scribe is assistant to the Kingdom Prime Minister, so.
Mm. So then why are you running for monarch right now if you already have the master crown? Isn't that just like a terrible evil thing? Why are you taking away the opportunity of the young up and comer?
I'm currently running on a post, so thanks, Godric. No, I've been planning a monarch reign, like fantasizing about it for the last 3 years at least. I think at this point I've gone through at least three different reign themes. Um, so I I really enjoy the concept of being monarch, but I also think that there are institutional changes that I'd like to make for our kingdom and for us as a nonprofit entity,
Mm,
that kind of improve our quality of life while also protecting our populace. So that would be the main reason that I'm running for monarch. But
mm.
then the secondary reason is that I think I would look really cool in a crown. I love hats, so
It's it's all about the drip. Everything goes back to the drip.
yeah.
So what are you looking forward to the most? You said running unopposed right now, so we'll assume that you end up winning. Like what are your goals for this? What does an ideal reign look like for you? What are you most excited for?
Um, it's I'm really excited for court. I want to bring back like pomp and spectacle for court. I think that I'm in the vast minority when I say that court is my favorite. Um,
Hmm.
I
Yep.
love seeing people get awards and I like seeing their faces light up. And I'm really passionate about both of those things. And I want to make sure that adequate information is given at court. Like, we don't have to go off on a paragraph about all of the things that such and such has done, right? But we can get the information across, make it snappy, give that person the special moment. Um,
Mm,
and I also think that like taking the time to announce at court what the award was for and, talk about in a brief sentence the challenges the person
mm,
overcame or why this award is important and is being given out at kingdom level, nips rumors and feelings of resentment in the bud, because it's like, oh, that's what that award is for, like here's why they deserved it,
hmm.
right? So I think that making sure that those things happen at court is really important to me also. So I'm really excited for court. I'm really excited to make those special moments for people. um, and then, wearing fancy hats. It's
Good
the
enough
most
reason.
important part. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's cool though. Court is I remember going up for my first kingdom level award and being called up in front of people. And
Mhm.
I'll never forget that. And I remember coming up and getting my masterhood when my first one when I didn't think I was getting it. And I'll never forget that. Court should be special. The
Mhm.
hard part is that I think every monarch has to balance is we want everything to be special, but we don't want to be there for 4 hours.
Right.
And so, how do you balance, you know, speeding everything along while also making it feel special?
I agree with that. I think that Obscura has done some good award reporting like after events, and I would like to see that come back, where
Mhm.
we announce the awards that were handed at court and why they were given out on the kingdom page so that people can read that.
That's
Um,
huge.
yeah, we've done it in the past. I don't know why we don't do it now, but we should. So,
Mm. Here's my biggest pet peeve for Amtgard like court stuff. The SCA does this, and I've seen a few reigns do this. I wish we would more. That idea of like if someone is getting a high level kingdom level award, let them know beforehand so they can make sure to be there or make sure their knight is there, make sure their family's there. Like you don't got to tell them beforehand, but like you are cordially invited to attend court for blah blah. Like because like my knight when I got my first masterhood wasn't
mhm,
there. He had pieced out because he thought that he was at the event but just left early because we both thought there was no way we were getting it, and like
mhm,
that sucked. And I know a
that
lot of
sucks.
I know a lot of other people who are like, oh, I just got my masterhood, but I wasn't even at the event because I wasn't aware I had to be there. And so
Yeah.
like I I would recommend as the non-crown knight to
Mhm.
the crown knight here, right? Like send
Not a
those
crown
out so
knight,
people know to be
crown
there.
master,
Oh,
totally
sorry,
different.
sorry, sorry. My bad, my bad. Cool. So that fun question there. What's the difference then in your mind between masterhood and knighthood? So you said you clarified me there, or you corrected me there. Not a crown knight yet, but
Mhm.
master crown. What's the difference that separates those two?
Well,
And
for
all
crown
all of
knight,
them, not just crown, but like all of them, I guess.
okay. Well, for crown knight, it's clearly having a fancy hat because I haven't done that
Mm,
yet, so that's why I'm not. I'm just kidding. Um, I think that the difference between knighthood and masterhood um, is about someone's role in the game and not necessarily their skill level. Um, we can say that previously, in the rules of play, there was a line stating that knights should have skill beyond that of a master. That at the last Amtgard
Mhm.
International rules, whatever, was removed. Um, so I think that now it is purely based off of like knightly virtue and then like commitment, passion, service to the game. I think that there's a reason that lore-wise knights were tied to paladin and anti-paladin classes for so long, and that's because you take an oath to Amtgard, to your
Mm.
kingdom, to the populace, to serve. And so I think that the difference between someone that is a master and someone that is a knight is that commitment, that lifelong commitment to service to our game.
Mm. That's that's a key distinction. Because I was very glad when they removed the skill beyond that of a master.
Hmm.
That was silly and shouldn't have been in there. So we had made a note beforehand. We wanted to
Hmm.
plug something here. One of the Winter's Edge Knights has had a great night, fantastic. One of the better knights that I've met. Kazan, he's had some medical issues come up, some pretty major ones. You want to throw a little bit out and kind of you're more connected with him and family
Yeah.
than I am.
So Sir Kazan was in a life-altering accident, um, and they've started a GoFundMe for him to help pay for his medical bills. And so I just wanted to take a moment to highlight that that is available and to support our friend that is in need. He has
Mhm,
donated so much of his time, his passion, his energy, his love to our game, to our community, and to our kingdom. And so I think we have a really good opportunity to show him how much he means to us by giving back to him. Um,
mhm.
so if you could take a few moments just to go to the GoFundMe, check it out. Um,
Yep. You can find the link to the GoFundMe on the Winter's Edge Kingdom page. I will also post show include it down in the description below. But we're talking. This guy's probably gonna be for months and months. Like life altering
yeah.
injury here. This isn't a he ran over his foot type of thing. It's a fairly major injury, and so he's like Vidalia said, he's given so much to the game. I think it good opportunity. If you've got a little extra, I know it would help him and his family a long way. So we'll drop that down in the description below. But wanted to continue on with some of the night questions here as
Mhm,
we roll into the latter part of our first hour of the show.
mhm.
Um, Talking about first up, how long have you been a knight?
A year as of February. So I'm a little
Okay,
baby.
little baby knight. How do you run your belt line? I know that I get a lot of questions about this because there seems to be a lot of different ways and different people will do different things and how many squires and are there pages and all of this stuff. So kind of what's your overall philosophy on your belt line and how do you run it?
I have one squire currently. His name is Bubbles. We call him Senior Bubbles because he's a lord and he makes everyone margaritas. Um, and he's my only beltling currently. I'm of the belief that if I have one belt, I should have one squire, one man at
Mm,
arms, one page, and I'll take another squire if I get another knight's belt or something like that. Right now, Bubbles is the only one directly in my belt line, but we do work together on a lot of projects. We've done joint crafting projects
mm,
together. I help him with concept and design. He does woodworking, which is entirely out of my wheelhouse, except I tell him if it looks pretty. So, and then I help him, get the projects
mm.
because he doesn't have Facebook. He's not super like linked into the Amtgard online community or
He's probably better
side.
off for it.
Yeah, I imagine his life is very peaceful. And so I'm like, hey, here's a project for you. Go.
Mhm. That's cool. So one squire, you said, and then ideally keeping one squire, one, did you say at arms and one page as well?
Yes.
per belt. What is your role? What is their role? Talking about your squire, like
Hmm.
how does that? I know it could be different for each individual person, right, within your belt line, but like,
Hmm.
what do you think your job is in that relationship?
Um, I think that I'm there to kind of like guide and support. Bubbles kind of sets his own goals, and I'm just there to help him get there. Does that
Mm,
make sense? So
yeah.
he's like, I want to get into woodworking. Like, I know nothing about that, but I'm here to help. So whatever you want, tell me, and I'll help you, you know?
Mhm.
So,
That's cool though, because I know some knights and squires, it's a very hands-on, like I am teaching you the skill.
mhm.
But then yours sounds very much like I'm not just, but I'm the sounding board. I am the encouragement when you need it. I'm the help you refine it type of relationship. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of times, like, we'll do body doubling. So I'll go over to his workshop and sit with him while he crafts. Because again, I know nothing about woodworking.
Mm.
But I'll be like, yes, that looks good. Or you should change this here so that it looks prettier. Because, I mean, I am a master dragon, so I have some concept of design and color composition and things like that. But yeah, I'm mostly there for emotional support.
Which is funny, and that was not something that anyone told me before I became a knight. I feel like that is almost my primary job.
Hmm.
Is like almost none of my underbelts have I directly skill transferred, plug your brain into my brain and I'll teach you the skill. Like there's a
Hmm.
little bit of that, but the majority of it is what you just said, right? It's like I'm here to be the emotional support when you feel like quitting, for
Yeah.
you to rant at me and then pick you back up and get you back on your way.
Yeah, basically. I think the only person that I've like quote direct skill transferred is Balto. So I'm very proud of the scrolls that he makes. I
Yeah,
feel like warms the cockles of my heart. My Knight of the Serpent scroll is right over there. He's right there. So
which that's got to feel cool, having someone that you taught, and taught the skill to making your knighting scroll. Like that's pretty cool.
I'm about to cry thinking about it. It's it's amazing. So I'm so proud of Balto again. Like
I can mirror that. I was happier when Madness got his warlord than I was when I got any of my masterhoods. Right? Like it was when your squires do like when your squires achieve their goals, it feels unbelievable. Like I don't know. I can't even describe it.
yeah, I have never not cried at a knighting. Like every time. Yeah, before I became a knight, I cried. After I became a knight, I cried harder. Like, I'm so proud of my friends
Mm.
accomplishing these things and then, like, us recognizing them. And I don't know. I see, because now that you're a knight, you can see their faces as they're getting knighted. And it's just like gut wrenching to me to see that expression on someone's face. Does that make sense?
It does. That's something that I have thought about a little bit is flip-flopping the person knighting and the knightee where they
Hmm.
are. And so I've done a few weddings like that where
Hmm.
the back of the minister is to the crowd, not the back of the couple. And like because then everyone there gets to see their face, not just the knights. And that I could see that being pretty cool here
Fun.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have put together some statistics for us here. Well, not just for us for this, but you put them together, some stuff for the COK, the Circle of Knights year in review. Just want to shout out a little bit, talk about this. What's the purpose of this? Why'd you spend the time on it? What is it? And then we'll kind of go through some highlights here.
So there's been a lot of talk about how like the Circle of Knights is some sort of secretive shadow cabal where, we make or break people's entire career paths behind closed doors or something. So my goal here was to give information about what is happening on the Circle of Knights while also prioritizing the privacy of our candidates and our knights. Because I think that having candid conversation and being in a place where you're receptive to feedback
Mm.
depends on privacy. So this is meant to be useful to our populace to talk about what is happening, but also useful for our populace to see like what the priorities of our Circle of Knights was for the 2023 year review.
Mm.
So that's kind of the function of this.
Give me 1 second. I got to pull it up on this end.
Sure thing.
Where did it go? There it is. All right, found it. Found it. All right. Um, any of these? I'll cycle through it. Feel free to spend as much or as little time on any of these points that you would like or that you felt were particularly interesting, and then I'll kind of chime in around that as well.
Sure. So this kind of like shows what our voting members are. A lot of people have made comments about like the Circle of Knights are old and don't even play Amtgard anymore, and why would they get to vote on me and da 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 da. So all of our knights have attendance requirements that they have to make. They must
Finally.
be yes, they must be dues paid citizens of our kingdom. They also have to be um, we now have Kingdom Amtgard functions instead of Kingdom Amtgard events. So the wording has changed slightly between 2023 and 2024. But all of the knights that are voting on our players are active at both a kingdom and a local level.
All right. I thought this was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big circle, and these are just our voting nights. So the people that are active, people that are coming to Amtgard events, our Kingdom events, and it's actually gone up, obviously, because we're still knighting people. But
Mhm.
yeah, and there have been, I think it might be on the next slide even. Um, we do lots of meetings. Next slide. um, I don't know if I talk about it, but there were meetings where we had 100% voter turnout, and not
Mm.
just a few meetings. Like the vast majority of our meetings had 100% of the knights voting, which I'm really proud of.
Mm.
Sorry if I harassed all of you.
Hey, that's the job of the GMC. Okay.
Yeah. Um, and then this is a breakdown of the feedback that we've had. Um, so this is the positive feedback, and this may not be representative of what we're looking for specifically as a circle. Like I know that we don't necessarily vote based on like the merit of the awards or the skill of the individual
Mhm.
knight, but a lot of the compliments that were given by the circle focused on people that had a lot of skill and talent. Like that was our number one compliment that we gave as a circle.
Mm.
Um, and then we, community impact, being present at kingdom level, being like a pillar of Winter's Edge and our community and our culture was really important to knights. Obviously, service, positive attitude, and teaching
Mhm.
are big um, points as well. And then I also think that like personal growth and accountability is interesting that it shows up enough to be
Mhm.
present. So it's not over when you make a mistake. Be accountable and be open to growth.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I thought that the personal growth one was surprising to me because that I don't know that doesn't show up anywhere in the rules of play. That doesn't show up in most people's like understanding of what it means to be a knight. If you ask 50 people at a random event, personal growth seems to be more of a ladder award thing and not a knighthood thing. But that was cool. I like that that's in there because it very much the point you just said. The if you have messed up, growth is a key part of it. And as long as you're willing to be accountable to it and continue to grow, there's not all hope is lost type of thing.
right, and our Circle of Knights, I think, does things a little. I'm not sure. I'm not on any other circles.
Mm.
So as far as I know, we do things a little differently where we can no vote someone, and in 6 months they are automatically eligible for a revote. They don't have to be like, please bring up my squire again or whatever. Like they're automatically eligible again. So a lot of times people will vote as no, not yet, instead of a no, not ever, which I think can be really useful for cultivating the culture that we'd like to have on our circle and in our
Mm.
kingdom, because then it makes people do that whole personal growth thing. So
Yeah, that is different than some of the other. The only ones that I know of that are revotes are like if someone specifically is requesting a revote.
mhm.
So yeah, I like that. That is a neat feature. We've kind
And
of
this
already
just
talked.
is what are these things? So
Yeah, yeah. All right. Any interesting points on the negative feedback, quote unquote, or the areas of improvement?
social strife slash controversy was the number one criticism. Um, I originally had this data point listed as drama, but I was
Mm,
told that that maybe wasn't the most professional definition of what we were looking at here. So it's like, do you stir the pot just to stir the pot? Um, are you associated with a lot of negative events in our community or anything like that? Because you can still be high achieving, but very controversial
mhm,
or problematic, um, which I think a lot of us are familiar with. Uh, and so that was our number one reason or criticism
mm.
as far as areas of improvement. Um, lack of kingdom presence was very
Huge.
close
Yep.
second, off by one data point. And so it's like we have a lot of people that are making really, really great work, and they're definitely have, again, the skill set of a master, but it's like they might not be that pillar of the community. They might not be involved in
Hmm.
kingdom stuff that we're looking for specifically from knights. And then poor attendance. So knights have attendance requirements. I think it makes sense to hold our candidates to the same values that we hold our circle to. And you must be present to participate. So,
Yep. I think like half of the poor attendance ones were probably my comments because that's one of my like almost I would say probably 8 out of 10 of my
hmm
no votes have something to do with those top three there.
hmm
And most of them are attendance related. Like if you're not playing, I don't want to give you a belt. I don't understand why you're trying to pursue a belt if you're not actively involved in the game.
right.
I don't think you can do your job as a knight if you're not actively participating in the game. So,
I also think it's important that our feedback has context. Like the people we're
mm,
voting on have a context in the culture of our game, right? And so a lot of the masterhoods were given as a bump from 10th to masterhood. And so a lot of these people were inactive before even
mm,
receiving their masterhood. So we were voting on a disproportionately inactive group of people in 2023. So that's probably why we're seeing this data point here,
mhm.
and not maybe reflection of a larger trend as far as our masters being inactive, because that would be bad.
Yeah, true. It's kind of a catch up.
Mhm.
Let's see. Anything on this one?
This is just kind of speaking to our data points. Like again, they're not compiled by order of importance, but order of prevalence. So this is talking more about like the statistical side of the data that was compiled. So I also called some feedback, like feedback that amounted to "I do not know this player" or "I abstain," right?
Mhm.
Um,
Fair.
just because that's boring. I don't think that that helps people like improve.
Yeah.
You know, there are reasons that knights might not know people. There are reasons that people might not be known at kingdom. So I don't think that that feedback helps the populace or helps the candidate
Mhm.
super well. So, but
Yeah,
also it's
agreed.
really
I re- I really appreciate that you keep up with all of this, and that's one of the reasons why. So people might not know this. Our Circle of Knights votes mainly online, and we use Google Forms to be able to track all of this. I really enjoy in-person Knights meetings because I feel like we can. It's just a better vibe most of the time. They're more fun to sit in than just like doing Discord and different things.
Mhm.
But doing in-person things, the feedback almost never gets to the candidate correctly because it's being filtered through their night or through other people that were there. The way that Winner's Edge does it through the Google Sheets, we are able to give direct feedback to these people, and it goes right to them. It's not being filtered through their night. It's not being filtered through 3 or 4 different avenues to get there, which I think is very helpful if you get the feedback and you're trying to improve. It's not like, well, one night may have said this, no one really remembers, and the night's had too much to drink, so none of us remember what it. You know what I mean? Like, I like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's part of why I did it. Like, I remember I was coming up for my vote and I kept being like, what's my feedback? What's my feedback? What are people saying? And I didn't have a night on the circle because I was belted under Squire Lexi. Um, and so I was just left with nothing until
Mm.
I joined the Facebook group and found out that no one said anything about me. So.
Which that's another point that I think most people don't realize is I think that like they think that the night circle gets together every Friday night to talk about everybody in the kingdom, and like that's just not the case. I mean, it's we get together twice a quarter maybe, and
Mhm.
it's even then the conversations are fairly quick and short. I don't know. They're just I thought before I got in that like, oh, there's all this conversation going on. They're talking about me behind my back, all this stuff, blah blah blah. And then
Mhm.
you get in there and you're like, oh, I guess not.
The
They barely talk about anything.
the most conversation I've ever seen about anyone was an hour and a half. And like that was an
Yeah.
outlier. Yeah. Um
Most
so
of the time when people come up for a night's vote, it's either a very clear yes, a very clear no. I would say the vast majority fall into one of those two categories. Very rarely is there like a 7 yes, 6 no, and we got to discuss it and talk about
mhm.
it for an hour. That just doesn't really happen too much, at least in my experience.
Yeah, a lot of times people also know how they're going to vote, so they're not
Yeah.
like unless some breaking news happens that we find out on the circle, like everyone kind of has their opinion formed already. Um, though I think that's another thing I wanted to talk about was the in-person meetings. I think we
Mm.
should have in-person meetings. I think we should do like nights meet and greets and just be available hanging out to the kingdom at events. I'd actually scheduled space for one at the last event, but it whoopsie doodle got left off the schedule. But we do have more planned. If I become monarch, I've selected Libby to be my vice guildmaster. So she will take over in my stead because I think that the Circle of Knights is meant to be a balance, like a counter um, for the monarch when deciding something as important as
Mm-hmm.
knighthood. And I don't feel comfortable being in both positions. Um, so if I am monarch, I might not be guildmaster, but I would like more in-person meet and greets
Mm.
at the kingdom level. So.
Yeah, I agree. Rising Winds did in-person meetings, and I thought their meetings, like where they vote, is open to the public at events, and most of the time they were Saturday mornings. And I appreciated that a lot because leading up to my vote, I went and hung out at 6 or 8 of them beforehand, and that really helped with getting to know people and understanding what different people were looking for, and just overall, I really liked the visibility there.
Mhm.
And then if they were talking about you, they asked you to leave. Like if
Yeah.
you didn't get to sit in, and then if there were anything that would remotely be should be on an NDA type of thing, they would dismiss everybody but the knights. So like it wasn't really a privacy issue. So I
Mhm.
really appreciated that as an up and comer. And if you are in that spot, that would be something I would suggest too. We might not have open meetings where you can come and listen in on everything, but
Mhm.
come to these things that where all the knights are in one room together. And I know it can be intimidating, but we don't bite, most of us, like
No promises. Get your rabies shots.
yeah.
Um,
The later into the evening, the more and more likely you are to get bit. How about that? So show up early.
mhm.
So as we kind of wrap up this portion, do you have any hot button issues, anything on your heart that you just want to? You've got the stage, you've got the platform, you've got the mic for a few minutes. Anything that you feel passionate about, you want to chat about that I didn't ask a question on before we roll into the next thing?
Um, I think I don't necessarily think I have any like hot button issues specifically. I
I
if people have hot button issues they want me to address, send in those comments,
mhm.
but I don't think there's anything that's weighing on my heart. I'm very vocal all the time, so
I had heard something about like a overpriced sword or something that you
Oh,
wanted to. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, so it's not overpriced. Um, it's actually
It's not.
very
It's
it's
not. I
very
joke.
affordable. So Sir Darko is doing swords, and he has a blade, it's called the Nemesis blade. It's 5.7 ounces, and it's currently at a price of around $85. Um, and he's released an upgrade for it in the past couple of weeks called the hologram, and it upgrades the um, weight of the sword to 5.2 ounces, and that's for $95. So both of them are really lightweight tournament sticks. And then he also has pole arms, of course, and a variety of other tournament grade
Mhm.
equipment. I know his pole arms you can like raise with one hand, like a feather. They're
Yep.
amazing. Um, I have Donnie sticks. I should have gotten one. I didn't bring one over here. They're really great though. So I definitely
They are.
recommend that you go to Sir Darko for that.
Yeah, we'll put a link down to that in the description below too.
Mhm.
His stuff is great. It all top notch, very very lightweight, solid stuff. It's good. Cool. So with all of the shilling out of the way,
Oh, I
we
have one
can.
more thing.
Oh, go
One
for
more
it.
thing to
Go for it.
show. Hogman and I are working on a line of T-shirts that are like Vidalia made T-shirts. So we keep an eye on that in the future. They should be coming out soon. If they haven't already come out, I'm terrible at paying attention. So
I
ask
have not
Hogman.
heard of them. Yeah, I have not heard of them yet, so I don't think they are out.
Okay.
That's cool though. Yeah, for sure. We'll keep an eye out for that. So, what we are going to do now, chat over on, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free. This is kind of a Q&A time where you can throw, I've been getting some questions throughout the evening and I'll pull some of them up here on screen. If you have any questions for Sir Vidalia, feel free, drop those in the chat. And if it is a good question or if I like the question, I will pull it up and we can kind of go through, let me see. There was one good one. We'll start with this. Okay. Madness, this is Josh Ritchie, says, I'm going to make it into a question. Do scores in ANS tournaments matter? What do you think?
No. I think that they matter for placing in a tournament, but do
Mm,
they matter overall to like your value as a human being or even the award that you're going to get from the piece that you've created? No. I think that a lot of the judges' feedback can be useful. You have to take things with a grain of salt, just like any feedback, right? Like you may not know the perspective or experience the person has that's giving you the feedback, but sometimes, put your ego aside and you
mm.
can take that feedback and improve as a person, like, um, you know, write ups.
Yep. Yep. I know that one's Madness and I have been having this conversation recently back and forth. He is salty right now because I have brought up the point that I have more Kingdom tournament wins than he does.
Hmm.
Just in general. And then he's been saying that the sword stuff is just way more difficult than ANS. And I say that's an excuse. And we just go back and forth in our group
Hmm.
chat. So I've got, I think, almost double. No, it is double his tournament wins, and he doesn't like it. So he's just being salty in the chat. That's okay though.
That's fair.
Um,
I've never won a Winner's Edge Dragon Master.
oh, really?
I've
Interesting.
I've I think I've won one outside of Kingdom. It was during the pandemic, and I wasn't paying attention to which kingdom it was. So I don't
Mm,
want to continue our trend of don't look at my records. But I think I won a Dragon Master somewhere. It might have been Kingdom, it might have not been a Kingdom. But I've never won one in Winner's Edge for sure. So
interesting. Which is a cool. It's good for people to see. You have me who got Master Dragon, hyper competitive, loves the tournaments. You, who has the same award, Master Dragon, for never having won a kingdom level tournament. Both are
Yeah.
valid options based on what you prefer and what you have more fun with. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Don't let me bully you into tournaments, and don't let other people say tournaments are stupid if you enjoy them.
I mean, I've placed well. I've gotten like best in shows and things at Winner's Edge.
Mhm.
Just never won a Dragon Master. So there's a scope of things that you can do in and outside of tournaments that will get you
Mm.
recognition. So
Yeah, just do something 150 times in 1 year and you'll get recognition for it. Next question. I'm going to, again, make this into a question. What would you say to people who claim that the Circle of Knights is that star chamber, that they are keeping people down, that all the negative feedback that we normally hear about how terrible knights are? How would you respond to that?
I don't think that anyone is trying to keep anyone else down. I don't think that the Circle of Knights is organized enough to like sit here and say like we are all going to no vote this person. Like it's a huge very demographic. It's kind of like I mean it's a poll. So it would take concerted effort for us to
Mm-hmm.
do that, and as a circle we're not, you know.
What people don't realize is 10 minutes before the meeting start, Vidalia is wrangling everybody to get in there. Like, we can't even get in a Discord room at the same time, let alone like plot out this evil plan to keep you from getting your awards. And like, we've got 20 voting members now. So even if like 3 or 4 people really, really don't like you, you still have a chance, right?
Mhm.
Like they're just, we have so many different people, different generations, from different fighting companies, from different backgrounds, that this idea of all of the knights hate me doesn't exist, or at least very, very rarely does it exist.
You might have 1 or 2 vocal opposers at any given vote, if that. And a lot of people, again, our circle is unique that we have a revote every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will vote no, not yet, and it's not coming from a place of I want to keep this person down. It's coming from a place of I don't think that this person necessarily meets the standards or is meeting my personal expectations of where I think they could be. And so it's being used as an incentive to
Mm-hmm.
help people improve. So I wouldn't take a no vote personally.
Yeah, unless the comments are very specifically personal. No, I mean, like,
That's
there
fair.
are certain things where like I'll no vote somebody and I will quote, "Hey, when you did this action is the reason I am no voting you. I need to see that action reversed over a span of, a year or two of consistent change." Like, unless you get something that specific, it's probably your attendance, or it's probably your, some of these other ancillary things that you can change, and not a personal thing.
Statistically, it's probably your attendance and it's probably not a pillar of the community, right? So fix those 2 things. Be more
Mm-hmm.
active, be more present, vocal, supportive, and she'll
Yep.
probably pass.
All right. Next question here. What brand of Nighty Whiteys would you recommend?
For Jeff, depends.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Um, I think that boxer briefs are great for tournaments, prevent chafing.
There
So,
you go.
Vidalia sponsored boxer briefs.
That's going to be with the t-shirt line. Cool. So feel free, everybody. We've got 12 people in here right now live, which is pretty cool. If you have any questions for Sir Vidalia, go ahead and drop those down in the comment box below. These can be about anything specific to her journey and her path to masterhood or to knighthood. These can be takes on, like, I'll throw, what were your thoughts on V9, right? It can be like those type of questions. They can be kind of just whatever. Really, the floor is yours. If you've got any questions for, you can throw those. I'll throw the V9 question to you, just because that's one that kind of upset me a little bit, and I'll get your take on. Our Kingdom was one of the ones that no voted it down, and I was pretty upset by it because we didn't even give it a shot. Like we didn't even play it to have enough info. We didn't have enough, I don't know, information to really even validate a no, in my opinion. So, what are your thoughts on V9 as a whole? What do you think?
I went to, I don't know if you knew or attended the meeting with the senator, Avi, who was talking about the V9 issue. So I'll just regurgitate what I said to Avi,
Mm,
which is there are very good things in V9. There were some problems with V9. It was an alpha testing, so I expected those to get smoothed out over time. Would I have yes voted V9 in its current iteration to be our official rules of play? Probably not. But do I think that stopping V9 currently is conducive to bettering Amtgard? No, I think that there's a lot of good things coming out of V9, and we can take what we want and
mm.
leave behind what we don't want. Like we completely have that ability, but stopping testing, stopping official sponsorship, um, doesn't leave anything on the table.
Yeah, I I agree. I thought it was just it was a knee jerk reaction, like a very early reaction. It doesn't harm anything to let it actually make it to a playable game.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. It just felt very spiteful, almost like we don't like the people in charge of it. Is what I don't think that's what Winter's Edge did.
Mhm.
But there were definitely some kingdoms that were like, we don't like One Joe, so we're no voting it, or we don't like Manama, so we're no voting it, and that I didn't like.
No, I didn't like that either. Um, and again, like I think that there were very useful things about V9. If you had a problem with the people, like Amtgard's full of weird people that don't all get along. Like look at what they're
No.
producing and disassociate it from the person. It's like death of the artist. Just is this good for the game? Yes, no, right? Like you don't have to
Mhm.
like the person that's making it to
Yep.
see that something is objectively good or bad, right? So,
Eat the meat, spit out the bones.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, got another question here for you. Do you have any other plans on pursuing knighthood and other paths besides serpent?
Yeah. I participate in tournaments. I've been working super hard on my fighting. I battle game. How well that is to be determined, but I'm definitely out there doing it. And I currently have masterhoods in Crown and Rose. I really want Lion, just to complete that little trifecta. Um, but I just think, I'm gonna keep pursuing excellence in
Mhm.
a wide variety of ways. So,
So, out of the 5 belts, which do you think would be the most difficult to get for you and why?
sword. um, I think that sword path is extremely difficult on its own. Um, I think that it's dauntingly difficult for AFAB people. Um, and there's a wide variety of reasons as to why
Mhm.
that is. But I think that I'm bullheaded and I'll sink my teeth in and see how far I get. It might not be very far. It might, who knows? So I've been practicing. I've been doing a lot of working out and stuff like that. I got into the triads and I've lost 23 pounds. And I run every day and I work out all the time. And I have been missing fighter practices the last few weeks because I had surgery. But aside from that, I've been on the grind. So,
I think sword is by far the most difficult, at least for me. But I think just in general, I think it's the one that has the most. I don't know. It takes the most time, the most effort to get. Um, but having all 5 would be really sick. And you're what, over halfway there? Well, you've got masterhoods for 3 of the 5 already.
Mhm.
Um,
I have 8 battles and 7 warriors. So
that's awesome. It what the less than a dozen 5 belters in the game.
mhm.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
It would be very cool. But definitely a difficult climb.
Hmm.
And then sword is unlike the other belts where, you stop people by winning. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed.
There's
It's
a there's a limited number that can be produced. So,
yeah, and then I don't know. I've always thought sword was weird. Not only because you're blocking, but like, and it's changed a little bit now. But like,
mhm,
if you really didn't want someone to get their masterhood, you just didn't show up. And I don't like that was an option, right?
mhm,
Like if the current warlords didn't show up, the tournament didn't count, type of thing.
right.
Um, that was just nonsense. I'm glad that that's kind of gone away. Cool. I don't have. Let's see. Nope, that was a comment on V9. So yeah, cool. We'll go back because one of the questions that I cut during our
Mhm.
main part because I thought that we were running short on time. Tell me about the triads. You said you joined the triads. What's why? What is your pitch for your elevator pitch about the company? And should new players be trying to join? What's all that look like? And why do you like the triads?
I like the triads because we're like a family. We're super tight knit. Um, and everyone's there supporting each other behind the scenes. Um, we have a lot of really cool stuff. I can't tell you. It's triad business. No, we have a lot of people that do like uh analysis from tournament footage that like we take
Mm,
for each other. So we'll workshop our fighting with each other, and so I feel like I've improved significantly
mm,
since joining because I have like direct feedback on my fighting. Um, and then also there's like this very close community of
mm.
people that are all there supporting each other. Um, and our outfits are really cool. Like look at this tunic, like and you know.
Hey, I'm just impressed it's not a jersey.
I actually don't own one of the Triad jerseys. I'm very sad about it. Not a single one. We have like 4 different jerseys. Where's my jersey? Captains, where's my jersey?
There you go. So, everyone hanging out, feel free drop your questions down below. I've got one for you, and then if we don't get any more questions, we can kind of wrap up here.
Mhm.
Kind of going back to the knighthood stuff from earlier. When it comes to underbelts, would you prefer to approach other people, or would you prefer for them to approach you about getting a belt, or are both acceptable and you're open to either one?
I think both are acceptable. Um, I only have one person in my belt line, and out of all the people that I've considered or have approached me, I approached Bubbles. So I guess that has the highest success rate.
So, but if random Amtgarder comes up to you at an event and says, "Hey, I vibe with you. I love your work. Would you consider making me a page?" What does that look like? Is that kosher? Should How do you feel about that? Does it depend on the person?
I mean, I'd definitely be flattered. Consider Beltline to be like a family to me. Um, so I don't know that I would accept some rando off the streets, but I would be very complimented and flattered if someone approached me and said very nice things about me. Like who wouldn't? And then if they tell me what they like about my work or what their goals are in Amtgard, I am very much connected to a lot of different people. So I might be able to direct them
Mm,
against a belt line that would fit their needs. Or say like, hey, let's get to know each other
Mm.
um, before we put a ring on it. So that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
no, for sure. What was it like? You said that your overbuild wasn't a knight, and you talked a little bit about the not having someone on the knight circle. Um, tell me a little bit about that, because that's an oddity, I think, that you would get knighted before your overbuild. So, kind of, what's the story there, and how did all that work?
Sure. My overbelt is Lexi, and she's awesome. I have a little bit of hero worship, just a little bit, which I think is healthy for everyone in a belt line. Um, I one time asked off work to hang out with Lexi, and in my work description, I just put it was Lexi Day. Like, she's the best. She's actually a master garber who declined
Mm.
knighthood. She makes incredibly excellent work, which is funny because I can't sew. Um, I'm terrible at sewing. She We have met recently, and she is helping me on a sewing project. Um, so that's fun. But yeah, she declined knighthood. She she thinks that um knighthood is a lifelong commitment, and she doesn't think that she is at the standards that she thinks knights should be at. So that's why she declined. I think she's there personally, but and the circle would be vastly improved with
Mm.
Lexi's presence, but she doesn't deign us
M-
cool enough. So
mad respect for someone who, for whatever reason, doesn't want it, doesn't feel like would be good at it, doesn't want the responsibility for saying no and sticking to no. That's props. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's really really cool. You don't see that too often.
no, she's a one of a kind person. I adore Lexi. I cannot overstate how great she is. She won't watch this, but if she watches this, I'm sorry, Lexi. I'm your biggest fangirl. But being on the circle, or not being on the circle and having someone vote for me, or not having a knight on the circle. I did have friends that were on the circle. My grand
Mhm.
knight was on the circle, but I didn't have like a direct line of contact to tell me anything that was going on. And I
Mm.
would ask people, and they would be like, "Teehee, we can't tell you."
I
Um,
hate that stuff, man. Nah.
yeah.
Get you a knight that will screenshot stuff for you. All right, I
Uh,
got a. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, it's fine. What was the question?
Question is, so weird question. As a new member, I always feel like I'm trying to still like learn how to fit in. Just curious, how long did it feel? Did it take you to feel like you fit in, proud of your garb, good grip on the rules, and how did you feel? How did you get to the point where you felt like you belonged in the community?
I think this is Gideon, which is one of our newbies from Radiant Valley.
Cool.
Um, Hi, Gideon. Love you. So it took me about a year to feel like I was fitting in properly. It took me getting knighted to get good garb. Um, and
Want want.
yeah, I wore wrap pants for a very, very long time. But no, as far as like fitting in socially, that can it can be like an uphill battle. It's hard when you're a newbie and you're surrounded by a bazillion old head Amtgarders, and like everyone knows each other, and they've known each other for like 15, 20 years, and like there's a mazillion in jokes that you don't know, and there's a 75-page rule book that you have to process while you're trying to get your feet under you socially. So it can be definitely a learning curve. But I think the important thing to remember is that we're all nerds. We're all passionate about the game. Like we have this common interest, right? Um, and we've all been there, right? Like we've all had our awkward newbie phase. If you go to my orc, I have a picture of me in my awkward newbie phase. Um, and you can see that I've been there and I've done that, and everyone has been there and has done that. And don't feel awkward. You'll grow out of it.
So
So,
I know I felt at my home park, it took me probably 18 months to 24 months to not feel like the newbie, you know? At Kingdom, it took me way longer. But I didn't have my park was a brand new park. We didn't have a knight. We didn't really have any squires until the tail end. I didn't hit that many Kingdom events. It was really going to Kingdom events is what, because you get there and then you realize there are a bunch of other newbies here and I can kind of hang out with the other newbies.
mhm.
Um, I wouldn't put a time frame on it. It's like, oh, I've been doing this for a year now and I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Don't let anyone lie to you. Most of us don't know what we're doing in a lot of different things. Like it may look like the people that you hero worship have it all put together, but they still have questions too.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I'm faking it like half the time. Like, I nearly had like a panic attack at Tyrant's Thorn. I knew someone there, but I couldn't remember their Amtgard name. Like I knew their real life name, but I couldn't remember their Amtgard name. But I'm Vidalia. I'm president of Amtgard. Like I'm supposed to know everyone. And it was like me coming to terms with the expectation of me versus the reality of me. Does that make sense?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, being willing to say I don't know is completely fine.
Uh-huh.
Um, to your question, Gideon, I would say work on your park, hang out with the people there, build relationships there. Once you're comfortable there, excuse me, then you can start working on kingdom stuff. Don't let the kingdom stuff scare you off. 90% of your amp guard will be local.
Mhm.
So if the big stuff scares you, don't worry about it. Just hang out and play local for a while.
And bring snacks. Everyone likes you if you bring snacks.
That's true. Very, very true.
I'm glad you felt really welcome in Radiant Valley. I'm so excited that we have newbies. We had like a
Mm.
dry spell for newbies for a while, and then suddenly we got like a bazillion, and I'm so happy to have everyone here. So,
Oh my gosh, you guys started playing battle games, and look, people showed up to play Amtgard when you played Amtgard.
sorry, what
No
was that,
comment. No
Catherine?
comment. No comment.
We have a battle master at our park. We play battle games.
Yeah, but for
Juggling
for
is a battle game.
for a long time, there was very little battle gaming going on at that park.
Ditching
Technically,
ditching counts.
yeah. All right, another question here for you. What advice would you give to a brand new monarchy team? So we'll do two facets here. What would you give to a park level monarchy team? And then what would you give to someone stepping into a kingdom office for the first time?
For a park level monarchy team, I would say don't be afraid to try something new. Um, if it works, great. If it doesn't, keep what was good, leave the rest behind. Don't be afraid of failure. Um, and yeah, I think that's it for a monarchy team. Be consistent.
Hmm. Show up.
Yeah, show up, be consistent. Yeah.
And then what about for someone stepping into kingdom, like a kingdom monarchy for the first time? Is
Take
that any different?
Oh yeah, it's hugely different. Park level, there's a support structure for you. Your friends are there. You see the payoff immediately when you're doing well in park office. People thank you when you're in park office. Um, and so moving from park where you're well known and well liked and have a support group of your friends isn't completely different than moving to Kingdom, and it feels like free falling almost when you
Mm,
first get into Kingdom Office. Like, but I would say the best advice that I have is consult other people that have done it. Um, take time before making a judgment call to do those consultations to cool off from the big emotions that come with Kingdom Monarchy. So take that time to keep a cool head. I am notoriously hot-headed. I just call my friends and rage about it before and just get all of that out of my system before I say something on the kingdom page. So that. And then
For
uh
Kingdom Level 2, before you post anything, have like 3 other people read it. There should
yeah,
never be a gut, like that should never be like a knee-jerk reaction to post on your Kingdom page when you're in charge of something. Like have other people read it and trust them if they say chill, chill.
yes. And also you can schedule your post in advance on Facebook. Facebook is typically the primary form of communication for Kingdom officers. So you can schedule your posts, and other admins on the page can see your post and can review it for you before it goes up. And then you can schedule all of your posts like 2 months out, and then you're golden, right? Like
Just
it's
spend one afternoon knocking it out.
yeah, set a calendar, spend an afternoon knocking it out, set a schedule, and then follow the schedule. And, use a Google Calendar, use your phone calendar, just set reminders for yourself to do the thing. Front load as much as possible.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
cool. So, question for you here, related to this one, because I think it's an interesting perspective. If you can pick one single office in the game from Shire level all the way up to Kingdom level, what do you think is the most important single office in the entire game?
Park champion.
How come?
Um, because park champion determines the day-to-day quality of life of every Amtgarder that plays at a local level, which should be most Amtgarders, right? I understand that there might be a minority that's only going to our events or something, but if you're participating in Amtgard with any regularity, it's going to be at park level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of those park games, all of your day-to-day stuff that is happening at park, a lot of times is determined by your provincial champion. Um, and so a lot of the reputation of your park apparently, and battle gaming and recruiting newbies and all of that jazz is happening because of your park champion. So go
Mm-hmm.
give them a hug, bake them cookies, tell them you love them.
Every single person I've ever asked that has said that same answer, and I
Mhm,
think it's so true. If a new player is going to have fun and want to come back, it's the champion's job. That 3-year player who shows up once a month, they're going to want to start coming back because the local champion does his job. Your kingdom level, monarch, yeah, they're the ones that give the awards, and like it's kind of important. But man, you can love this game and play for a decade and not interact with Kingdom at all and be
mhm.
just fine. Like it's not mandatory to interact with Kingdom Monarchy. It's mandatory that you have a good champion or your park's going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, we'll give a last call here for questions for Sir Vidalia. If you have any questions for her, go ahead and drop those down in the comments below. We've got a good crowd, actually. It's been pretty cool. I like the live stream format.
Awesome.
It's been fun.
Give me your
Um,
hot questions.
Ooh, all right. Yeah. Hot button questions. While you're typing in your most difficult questions, we got another one here. I know burnout is a thing in Amtgard. What do you recommend to keep yourself from burning out?
Hi, Chops. I love you, Chops. Burnout is really difficult. I actually went through burnout last year, for the
I
first
wonder.
time.
I wonder why.
Could be anything.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
And I took some time to like go touch grass. Um, I hiked a lot. I went swimming a lot. I spent a lot of time outside in nature and
Touching grass.
touching grass, and then I came back to the game. I don't think I ever really left. Like I was still active during all of the time. I was still guildmaster of the Circle of Knights. I was still in provincial office. But I was taking a more hands-off approach to all of those things. I'm sure you noticed on the circle when I picked back up again and started doing stuff. Um, and I think that all of that was really helpful for me. I Thanks, Gun. um, yeah, it's important to take breaks. It's important to make sure that you're still having fun doing the things um, that you thought and that you thought you enjoyed, and make sure that that's still where your heart's at. Like, you might want to reprioritize. I found that battle gaming helped me, so I just switched paths
Mm.
to something else. Found something novel to do that I hadn't really gotten into before. Super hard. Finally learned the healing can't. So,
Yup, yup.
um, and I found that all of those things helped me. And then, of course, the support of my friends. Looking at all of the questions and the people in here is really great. A lot of people don't talk about like the role of friends and support in knighthood and in office and in burnout. And so having a group that surrounds you, that is supporting you, that is um, doing stuff with you is really great. And I can't thank the group at Radiant Valley enough. Even when I was in Kingdom Office in that free fall, they've always been there for me. So I think turning to your friends and touching grass helps
Good.
prevent burnout.
And finding something new to have fun with. You
Yes.
said that. You said that in there too. I think that's pretty big one.
Hmm.
Cool.
Hope that helps, Chops.
All right. Something you wish you knew starting out that you know now. These don't. I like this question. I think it's a good
Hmm.
one, but this isn't the hardball question that she's looking for. So if we can get like one good,
Give
like,
me your spiciest meatball.
yeah, let's get a spicy question to end the night on.
So what do I wish that I knew starting out on? I wish I knew how important proper equipment is for fighting and battle gaming. Like, wear gloves, wear good shoes, wear braces, do all that stuff.
Drink water.
Um, Drink water. All of those things are very important. Um, Another thing that I wish I knew starting out is that Amtgard is as much a community as it is a game.
Mm.
And you can definitely be the person that shows up and plays it as a game and still has a great amount of fun, but there's this whole depth and scope to Amtgard that you won't even scratch if that is how you were treating Amtgard. And so also, a lot of people, this is their community. This is their community for the last several decades. And it's okay for them to be passionate about it. And it's okay for you to choose how passionate you are about it. So,
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. I've got two here, and one's a pretty decent question, but it's not spicy. So we'll go with the spicy one here too.
do we have
All
time
right.
for both? I'll be fast. Oh,
All right. Here's the non-spicy one. I'll keep the spicy one to the end then. So
okay.
given you were KPM, how much mental toll was it going through a ban process?
Um, I actually only had one direct ban during KPM. I'm pretty sure I can talk about it. It wasn't like anything too terrible.
Just leave out names.
Okay, one of our players from our park spit on another player in a moment of anger. And this person was a very good friend of mine, and I had to ban them 2 weeks before my knighting.
Mm.
It really sucked. But don't act in anger. Be responsible. Don't spit on people in the state of Tennessee. It's legally assault.
Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah. But she has since come back to Amtgard and is having a great time and has been on her best behavior, so I hear. So, I think that as much as we talk about bans being controversial or terrible or whatever. Bands can also be learning moments for players,
Mhm.
like chill, and then you take that and you can grow as a person and improve. And I think that the player in question has done so. So I think that overall, despite it being sad time for me,
Mhm.
overall was a net positive. So
I think that's one thing we don't do enough are especially at a local level, those like 1 month, 3 month, 6 month bans. We kind of just leave it to Kingdom and then it's all or nothing. Where I think a lot of Kingdom bands we can correct with smaller bands before then, if we would be willing to do it.
and then there were other discussions, obviously investigations that happen at kingdom level that may not have resulted in bans. I think that a lot of times they can be emotional. Like sometimes you're hearing about previous bands that have had some pretty terrible things happen. I used to joke that being in Kingdom Office when you're on the band committee is like, here's Amtgard, it's beautiful, it's lovely, and then you like open the cloche on your dinner and it's like, oh god, it's all sex offenders. Um, that's
Where?
not that's not accurate. They're not all sex offenders, but it can be a lot to deal
Mm.
with when you're in office. And again, touch grass.
Kind of going back to find never lose the thing that you enjoy doing.
Mhm.
Don't let the responsibility that you have taken on drive you away from the things you have fun with.
The other thing that I find that I do is like when I'm doing something hard, whether that's banning or investigating or regardless, like I'm imagining the goal and imagining the benefits, and that's what helps me stay motivated.
That's
So,
good.
like, it may be hard to ban a sex offender, but also think about all of the people that you're protecting. So,
Yeah. I've never had to do those bans, but I feel like the sex offender ban is probably relatively cut and dry most of the time. I wouldn't feel too bad personally. I don't think I feel too bad about that one. What I would feel bad about is the non-illegal like the COC
mhm.
sixes that need to be done, but like there's no clear right. They didn't assault anybody. There's no sexual anything here. That it is
Yeah,
like the toxic online ban. I feel like would be way personally would be way more stressful because that's more of a judgment call. It's not as cut and dry as like, hey, you are on the sex offender list. You can't play with us.
I think you'd be surprised because, like, you think like I mean, yes, sex offender list, like, that is cut and dry, but,
Mhm.
there COC3 actually has a pretty broad scope, so it can include things like sexual harassment, and if you look at the legal
Mm.
definition of sexual harassment, it can include things like discrimination on the basis of gender
Mm.
and, you know, being a butt to someone because of their gender identity and things like that. And I don't think I would issue permanent bans. Like that's something that we can rehab a player on. And then also like a lot of people that are looking at these bans, the concept of badgering into consent can be difficult to get across to people that that's bad. Like if
Mhm.
you're constantly asking a woman break like beating her down over time, like that's you're not establishing consent, you're just badgering her, harassing her
Mm.
into saying yes, and that's also not acceptable, right? And so I think that there's unexpected gray areas that people
Mm.
have um when you're looking at these issues. It's not as cut and dry as people like to think it is.
That's some good insight. One of the reasons why the Kingdom Office I have done has not been a ban sitting one. So, all right, a little bit more lighthearted one here for you. So, what inspires your LARP persona?
Onions.
Onion.
Um I have, I guess, 2 LARP personas. One of them is Vidalia, um, and that's because I smell really bad. Um, I smell like onions, and so everyone calls me Vidalia. And so I'm the Onion Knight, and I do stinky things. And then my other one is Loretta, which Godric, I think you've had the pleasure of meeting.
I have. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and she's from the Shady Acres Carriage Park, and she's redneck, wears overalls, that kind of thing. And we have lots of fun. I was pregnant once. I wasn't really pregnant. I had a mixing bowl belly, and I lash glued a cigarette to my lip and went around, you know, being a fun redneck pregnant lady.
Peak Amtgard, peak Amtgard.
Yeah, I tried to throw like throwies and like pick up quest items, but I was so like pregnant that I couldn't bend over to pick them up. It was a really fun time. We were all peasants too, so we're all redneck peasants running around doing crimes.
Go make your own fun.
Yes. Okay,
All
give me the
right.
spicy one.
All right, spicy one is we'll end the show with this one. Timely, based on current things going on in our kingdom. Should we award Order of the Warriors for archery skills? Yes or no?
I commented on this on the Kingdom Facebook page in the discussion that was being had. So I think that would be my most thoughtful and nuanced take on this, but I'll try to recap. The Kingdom of Winter's Edge already recognizes archery as a valid weapon category in our weapon masters. Um, Babine, who is incredibly wonderful and joyous creature, she placed first in our archery category in our weapon master, which featured archery. Um, and also placed in Sword and Shield, I believe, as well, which gave her overall fifth place. And she received her fifth Order of Battle from this. She has since moved away from Winter's Edge, which makes me deeply sad. Baby, if you're watching, I miss you. Come back. Um, but she did super well. And so we have recognized archery. As a status, as a valid weapon format in our tournaments. Do I think that archery as a standalone tournament could issue Orders of the Warrior? Um, Maybe lower Orders of the Warrior. Um, if we're doing kingdom level tournaments, I would like to see more than one weapon format featured. The rules of play specifically lists suggested major kingdom level tournaments as the War Master, the Weapon Master, and Olympiad. So I would look for tournaments that have those um,
The grandeur
vast
there.
vast reach, multiple weapon formats, and sufficient competition. And I think that archery can be a factor in that. I just don't know um, that I would for anything standalone.
It's the argument that I always come up with on this is like we don't do that for any of the other ones. Why would an archery tournament count if single sword, right? Like I've seen some single sword, the Midnight Iron Man type stuff. Someone might get like a fifth or a sixth or something
Mhm.
like that. But like giving someone a warlord off of a Midnight Iron Man single short bracket wouldn't happen. It
Right,
wouldn't. And so
right.
saying that we're gonna try and do that with archery is silly to me. I don't know.
I mean, I could see doing archery tournament with multiple styles, maybe like you have combat archery, you have target archery. Uh, the- I'm
Yeah.
limited in my under. I've never shot a bow, so I don't know what
Jeff
else you would do with it. But
Jeff is saying this a spell ball like you could do multiple categories with the different types of thrown and ranged weapons. Could be
mhm.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of fun.
The thing is, you would just have to get enough people to make it count, right? Like if you have a tournament like this and 10 people enter, I personally wouldn't want to give a warlord from a tournament with 10 people. And
Right,
I don't care what format that is. That's just not enough people for it to really count.
right. So again, goes back to sufficient competition, both
Those are
in.
those are dirty words. We're not supposed to use that phrase anymore.
I'm sorry, I'm perpetuating toxic sick drunk culture.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. But yeah, I would be interested. or and seeing major kingdom level tournaments feature archery, that would be something that would be fine by me. But
Mhm.
again, awarding for just an archery tournament is not something that I think is fair to the other weapon styles. And I think I said it with this wording, like we grant archery in our corpora the same respect as we do the other tournament or the other weapon styles. We award it with the same weight. It's just that
Mhm.
we don't have a lot of tournament time. You know, we keep increasing like how many battle games we want to run at each event, all this other stuff that we're packing in, and we have very limited volunteers. We barely have enough Reeves to run our weapon masters as it
Mhm.
is. So if the logistics can support an archery category, then do so.
Do it. Yep. I think the issue here is just if enough people want to do it, right? And maybe you throw a poll out here at the beginning of your reign as a champion. You know, here are the 10 categories that I'm thinking about doing. The ones with the 5 most votes are the ones that are going to be used in my tournament. And if archery is one that there is enough draw of people wanting it, and we can, you know, I said this off air to you, like let's drop
Mhm.
Flo. I would love to drop Florentine and not ever have to do Florentine in a tournament again. Like let's drop my worst category and add in a
Mhm.
complete crapshoot. That helps my odds a whole lot. Let's do it. I'm all game. I'm for it.
And again, I'm not against having archery tournaments at kingdom level. Like, I think if you're there and having fun and making fun for your friends, then you're accomplishing what you set out to do. We don't inherently have to award everything that's fun and good, right? Um, mean that it's fun and good. Does that make sense?
It does. I could also see the argument too. It was warned before Battlemaster came out that if we, you know, make it into an award, that it's going to lose its true value and the love of the game and all this stuff because people will be gunning for it. And that has somewhat become true, right? And I don't think it's a problem. I think it's good. But there are some, you know, battle game purists who are now bemoaning Battlemaster as an award because it, you know, it changed the look and feel and the love and, you know, the love of the game, love of the sport, whatever. I could see some of the people who are diehard archers it kind of becoming that too, where like they loved it, but now all these other people are getting involved with it just so for the awards, and we don't want it just for the awards. And we could kind of be having the same argument in 3 years from now, theoretically, if it became a staple.
I don't think that the argument for adding order of battle to our game, making it like a toxic environment, is a good argument. I also haven't seen that personally. Like all of the people that were problem players before Order of Battle are still problem players. Um, I don't think that like players that weren't problem players suddenly became it because they're pursuing
Mm-hmm.
Orders of Battle, right? Like I think that just isn't my perception of what I've
it
seen.
just it just encouraged a bunch of like old lazy battle gamers like myself to actually get on the field more often.
I think
Like
that like
it's a net positive.
I think it is like a net positive. Um, for all our geriatric players. I'm just kidding. But like I think that battle games were inherently competitive before. Like you had a winning side, you had a losing side.
Mm-hmm.
Tournaments are inherently competitive. You have a winner, you have people that aren't winners. And ANS tournaments are inherently competitive. Like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of our culture is based on competition, and um, it makes sense to award for it. And we do have orders of the marksman for strictly archery tournaments, and we do award archery for its role in our weapon masters when it is present.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's just get it into the tournaments, which is fine. I think that we've done it in the past. There recently, just in my time in being in the kingdom, we've done I think two archery tournaments as part of a kingdom major kingdom level event. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. It's a logistics issue. If you really want it, go
volunteer.
fix the
Yeah.
go fix the logistics issue, and there's no real issue with it. Just
Like it goes back to what I said before. If you want a thing to happen, do the thing.
mhm.
put together a team, run an archery tournament, see the problems that pop up, address those problems, and then streamline it so that we can put it into our weapon masters more frequently. Like, no one is stopping this from happening except that no one is doing it. Like, we don't have a cabal out here stopping archery. It's just we don't have time and no one has voiced a need.
And
So
go even more grassroots with it. Like if this was something that I was really passionate about, I want archery in the tournaments. You're telling me I can't do it because we don't have enough qualified people to run it. We don't have enough people in the tournaments. My first step next is the next 3 events. I'm running one event. I'm running a class on how to make arrows. The next one, I'm running a class on how to make homemade bows, right? Like out of PVC or whatever. And the third event, I'm going to do an archery 101 class. And I'm going to grassroots try and get more people involved in the thing that I love. So that way there's more of a need, which then goes to what we were talking about earlier, right? Find your need and run with it. Like if this is something that you truly feel passionate about, build the need. Don't just complain about it. Like go fix it. Go make the fun that you want to have. And if there are enough other people that agree with you, the fun will be had.
Mhm.
So I like this one. I think this is a good comment to end on. That's a good one. So Vidalia, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This has been fun. I like to close. Who are 3 people that I should reach out to come on a future episode of the archive?
Subway, I think, would be really good. He's an upcoming knight. I think it would be fun to do a perspective with Subway before and after getting knighted. Here's Subway right before he gets knighted. Here's Subway 1 year on the Circle of Knights. Here's Subway 5 years on the Circle of Knights. We'll just watch his descent into madness.
Does he have enough personality to fit 3 6-hour or 3 2-hour episodes?
No, you're right.
No, yeah.
Obscura is another good one. You can do his and hers interviews, but also she's incredibly influential in our kingdom, super important for setting precedent for a lot of the standards that we currently maintain. And then I think you've had Flo on before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a different old triad. How about Gillen?
Gillen would be good. I'd love to have Gillen on. Cool.
So somehow Subway loses his eyebrows after getting knighted.
Maybe. Cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This was fun, episode 27 of the archive. Let me know in the comments below if you liked the live format. This is something kind of new. If you enjoyed it, comment down below. I enjoyed it. I think it's more fun getting some more interaction here. So until next time, Vidalia, thanks for joining us. Viewers, thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time. Peace.